when I was growing up, I was always looking for the edge to get ahead. And I happened to stumble across some mental training guides when I was 15, 16 years old. And I went from being on JV as a sophomore to all county named district player of the year in a very big conference in Florida, was scouted by places like Georgetown, Bradley, some bigger schools. Went on a few trips, ended up going to the University of Akron, which was a D1 school. When I was at Akron, I only stayed for the summer. I just didn't like college basketball. That's the honest God truth. It's not just something somebody says who didn't make it. I really don't like zone defenses, and I was a shorter guy who tried to play shooting guard, so I tried out for a team called the Florida Sea Dragons. I made it to the Final Cut, but didn't make it. In a nutshell, that's what I did. I almost made it professionally, which the USBL is what the NBDL is today. So I was almost an NBDL player. So people often ask my qualifications. That's it. And for around 6 foot is generous, shooting guard, I didn't play point. I was a shooting guard. I felt like I had maxed out my potential. I was okay with where I ended up. And I always knew that my calling was to write and run businesses. And I've always, focused on psychology. If you guys don't know, I also own BoingVert.com, the vertical jump company. I own a bunch of other companies in Manhattan. I hold a degree in psychology. I used to write on foreign affairs and current affairs. And this is just kind of what I do on the side to give back to the game of basketball. I mean, we love basketball. So I was saying at the beginning, I was always looking for the edge. And I happened to one day find a basketball psychology book, and I put all of those drills into use. So the program is a derivative of a lot of the drills I did when I played. And it literally made me, I remember before games, I would just get, you ever get so nervous you don't even want to play? Why am I even on this team? Well, I did start doing these drills, and I started getting excited, and I started getting calm before the games, and I started hitting game winners and scoring, a lot of points and shooting plus 50% from the three-point line and 90% from the free throw line. And when I got out of high school and I'd play in these super competitive leagues, I was scoring 50, 60. A few times I scored 70 points against really good competition. And it was the mental training. Don't get me wrong, I put a lot of reps in, but a lot of reps, I know a lot of guys who just lived in the gym, maybe more than me, but I had done mental training and it got me ahead. I'm a true believer. I've seen it work with tons of people. So before today's podcast, I just wanted to tell you guys, really go check out the program. I've used it. I've used it on tens of thousands of athletes. It works. It's not, there's so much online. There's so much just noise and BS, but if you really care about your game, you have to add this. You have to. A program is only $27 for lifetime access. If you don't have $27 to spend on your game, I don't know what to tell you. And the reason we charge people and don't just give it away, because if you put a little bit of your money in, well, you're going to take it more seriously. When you pay for something, it means more to you. And second, I'm an entrepreneur. I run a business. It takes a lot of time to put this stuff together. It's what I do to pay my bills, to keep an office, to be able to produce this and, buy all the equipment we need. So yeah, it's a business, but it's a business that is dedicated with the purest intentions. You buy an iPhone, you buy Jordans, you buy a basketball, you buy all the gear you need. And this is part of the gear you need to be a basketball player. I mean, mental training is what you need. There's nobody else doing it. There's nobody, and to be quite frank, I know our stuff would be the best even if other people were doing it. That's how much dedication we've put into the product. I've spent years and years and years studying psychology. I mean, just today, I probably read 400 pages of, psychological works and experiments and new research. So I'm always looking to innovate, make the product even better. That's just, a long-winded intro to tell you about me and where the program comes from and my expertise in this field. I also do psychology for other sports. I also do psychology for, the general population. it's what I do. So, with that said, today I wanted to talk about beliefs. Now, what are beliefs? They're sort of the unspoken rules you have for life, the unconscious rules you have for life. You can start to figure out what your rules or beliefs are by noticing your emotions in certain environments. For instance, if you wake up and it's raining, and suddenly you go, oh, today's going to be a bad day. It's raining. That emotion you felt, you look out the window and you feel down, you have a rule, you have a belief that says it must be sunny for me to feel good. It's a logic proposition. If this happens, then that will happen. That's basically what beliefs are. So what we want to do is start making sure you have beliefs that empower you. For instance, if we're just talking about happiness, the rain should not have an effect on your state of happiness. A good belief, a belief I have, is if I wake up, today is a good day. So that negates the weather. If I'm breathing, it's a good day. I also have a belief that says if I'm not breathing, it's a good day. But that's a spiritual belief. So anyways, what we want to do for your game, for basketball, for your life, is start to give you some powerful beliefs, things that you can start to program into your mind so that when certain situations come about, your belief triggers a positive emotion. Does that make sense? So one core belief I have, and it's something I live by, and when I hit a tough situation, this belief always comes up. It may not come up right away because there's other aspects of your mind that will try to chop down positive beliefs, but my core belief is there is always a way. There's always a way. So when I was building my first companies, I was in New York City and I had no place to live. I was literally pouring any money I made from tutoring, from dog walking, from whatever I had to do into my companies. I knew there was a way to make my companies profitable. I knew there was a way to get out of the hole. There was always a way. That was my belief. So when, what I would do is I'd stay up all night and work. My university had, I had graduated, but when you graduated the university, you still had access to the 24-hour computer lab. So you couldn't sleep in there because the security guards would come around nudge you with their nightsticks. So there was no sleeping there, but you could work. And I'd stay up all night and work on my businesses. And then I'd go to Central Park during the day and, I was still dressed. I wasn't homeless in, rags and newspaper shoes or something. I was still showering because the school had a gym. I could go down, work out, shower, but I wasn't paying rent. And some nights, when the school was closed, like during a holiday vacation, I did stay on the train. I did sleep on church steps, but it wasn't like I was on cardboard, okay? I was holding my bag, sleeping sitting up, sleeping in Grand Central, just sleeping on the 6 train, which is relatively safe. But my belief was there's always a way. And secondary to that is pain is temporary, success is forever. So that was a secondary belief. I'll go through this temporary pain to get long-term success. And that's true in your workouts, that's true when things get rough. But if you can get that belief that there's always a way and that pain is temporary, success is forever, it's going to help you get through life. Beliefs are what differentiate losers from winners. Losers aren't really losers. There's no such thing as a loser. But people who get what they want out of life, or at least have a joyful experience of life, simply have better beliefs. So I'm encouraging you to adopt these 2 beliefs. I also always said to myself, what you want already exists. I talk about this all the time. Maybe it's fantasy, but in my life it's been true. I think of the things I want in my life. Maybe it's a bigger business, to finish my book. The book I'm writing, for instance, in my mind already exists. It's kind of like there's a universal Amazon, okay? And this universal Amazon has all your dreams, wishes, and desires. So the player you want to be in the future already exists right now in this moment. How do you summon that? How do you get that into your life? How do you bring it into your life? Well, it comes from, 1, believing that it already is there. That helps. And then 2, acting as if you're already it. So in my mind, every morning I'll take, 60 seconds and just feel as if I've written this book. I'll see it in my mind on the New York Times bestseller list. I'll see it in Barnes & Noble. I'll see it on Amazon. I'll feel the weight of it in my hands, and it's real to me. And I'll hear family and friends and people I don't know come up to me and say, hey, I saw your book. Congratulations. I love your book. I'll see the book launching party. So I feel like that's how you quote unquote order. You know how you one-click order on Amazon Prime? That's kind of how you order, is believing like it's already real. So when you're a game, you want to believe as if the player you want to be already exists. And you just do that for 60 seconds, and then you enjoy the process of working towards that. So it's not magic. You still got to put in the work. But there is something magical to it. Things tend to show up when you start to have certainty and faith from day one. Another belief I have, and these are listed below in the description of this video if you're on YouTube, is I believe in the power of training my mind and my emotions. I believe in that power. I believe that every day, the more positive thoughts I put into my head, then I'm getting closer to realizing my full potential. I believe in that power. I think it does something to the environment. If I'm positive, if I'm upbeat, it's going to change everybody around me, how they think about me, how I think about them, what they're willing to do for me, the creative ideas we can come up with. When you're really negative, a lot of the times it closes off options to you. So if you're positive, if you just believe that your mind and emotions help create your future, if you have a belief in that, and that training them will help you, it opens up possibilities. What I mean is, for instance, for a while in my life, I was extremely negative, and I wasn't like this, and I'd gotten away from the mental training, and a problem would come up, and my mind would just go, it's not going to work, just give it up. You know, I'd lost that there's always this way thing. And you know, when you're not training your mind, this is what happens. You can't come up with solutions. So part of training your mind is just this, is having the belief that there are beliefs you can adopt. So part of training my mind is saying there's always a way. So if I'm doing that, I review my beliefs constantly. So when I hit a tough situation, I know what I can fall back on. The tendency of the mind is to be negative. An animal, by its very nature, must have some sort of almost like a detrimental psychology. It has to look at all the detriments in the environment to stay safe. It'll hide in the weeds and look at all the predators and try to stay out of the way. That's safety. It'll run, it'll fight, or it'll kind of camouflage itself. And your mind wants to do the same thing. But being a human isn't life or death. Trying to start a company, trying to play basketball, if you fail, if you don't make it, you're not going to die. But you're using, life or death tactics on the basketball court, which totally stresses you out and doesn't work. So you got to train your mind to be positive and keep training it day in and day out. And you'll have to do that till the day, you leave this earth. That's just the way the mind is. There's not going to be a point where you hit it and that's it for good. There will be points where you hit it and you're just in the groove for a very long period of time. That'll happen. But something will jerk you out of place and you got to keep training. Got to go back to your training. I also have the belief all the work I'm doing is going to pay off, but I have no timetable for it to arrive. So I have what one of a few spiritual teachers have called infinite patience. I enjoy the process. However long it takes for that Amazon order to show up is however long it takes. I know what I want. I've placed my order and I'm doing everything I can to get it into my life. And the fact that I love to work out, it doesn't matter if it shows up. There gets to a point where you just love working so much. The paycheck or the trophy or the accolades are really secondary. In Rocky, my favorite scenes are the training sequences. I just watch those on repeat. By the time the fight comes around, it's okay, but I love the training. That's what gets me excited because I love the process. It's so much fun. And the last belief I have is focus on serving your team as best you can. So serve. If you get too caught up in yourself and what you can do, it can really make your life miserable. Try to think about the people around you, how you can serve them. On your team, what does your team need? Maybe it is scoring. It doesn't mean you develop a socialist system where everybody gets an equal amount of everything. No, you might have to take 25 shots a game to serve your team, and everybody else gets 5 or 7 or 10. Maybe you're the rebounder and you should only get 2 shots. Maybe you're the Jason Kidd type who doesn't shoot too much but is getting assists. Maybe you're the lockdown defender. Know your role. It's okay. Serve the team. If you can find a way to serve whatever team you're on, you'll be amazed what opportunities can open up for you. I mean, everybody has to be able to score, so you should be prepared for every opportunity. Free throws, three-pointers. But a lot of guys in the NBA can just kind of maybe sort of hit a spot-up three, but they're so good at one aspect of the game that adds so much value to their team that they make millions of dollars to play the game. They're also usually incredibly big people, but whatever your goals are, you can also make it. So this was just a longer, I guess, podcast, but I wanted to show you, you could start to change your beliefs. And as you start to change those beliefs, the way reality responds to you, the way people respond to you, I have tons of people come up to me and they say, I just like being around you because you make me feel better. And that wasn't always true. Like I said, I've been through some dark periods in my life, but those dark periods came when I stopped doing the mental training, when I stopped being who I am. And being who you are is being someone who has control of their mind. And if you're listening to this, you're into that. Very positive, where you're training your emotions. So an added bonus is you become sort of a light to the world, somebody other people look upon, not just in basketball, but just to get a boost of energy. You have unlimited energy and people come around you and you're a power plant and you really help them get through the day. And when tragedy strikes, the last thing I want to say is when tragedy strikes, if you've been doing your mental training, you're going to have this reserve of positive emotion to get you through it. I'm not saying tragedy is going to come into your life, but any major disappointment, a breakup, you don't get into the college you want, you're going to have something to fall back on. And a lot of people are emotionally empty. So doing the basketball brain drills, changing these beliefs, adds so much to your life beyond basketball. But they, more than anything, because that's your concern, make you a potent basketball player. Again, check out BasketballBrain.com. It's brain training for basketball players, and we are dedicated to your greatness.